I get it when you're staring at a blank metal sheet and thinking about turning it into a custom bracket or a decorative piece. The idea of adding a laser welding rig feels both exciting and a little terrifying. You're probably asking yourself, will this thing actually weld the stuff I need without turning my workshop into a sci-fi movie set? And what if I spend a few $1,000s and end up with a machine that only works for a handful of projects? Those are the exact doubts I had before I dug into the xTool MetalFab 1200w 3-in-1 laser welding machine. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I spent a good weekend reading through the tech forums, watching a couple of YouTube deep dives, and even chatting with a few small shop owners who've already put this machine through its paces. What follows is what I wish someone had told me before I made the purchase. First off, the biggest selling point is the 3-in-1 claim: weld, cut, and clean. In a traditional metal shop you'd need a TIG or MIG welder for joining, a plasma cutter for slicing, and a separate grinder or sandblaster to prep the surface. The MetalFab packs a 1200-watt fiber laser that can flip between those rolls with a button press. In practice, that means you can take an inch stainless steel plate, lay it flat, and have the laser clean the rust spots, cut out a pattern, and then fuse the edges together, all without swapping torches or reconfiguring your workbench. For anyone who runs a small fabrication side hustle, that consolidation saves not just space but also the mental overhead of juggling 3 different power sources and safety protocols. Now, let's talk about the learning curve, because that's where many hobbyists hit a wall. The marketing says zero learning curve, and while nothing is truly plug and play, the software that ships with the MetalFab is surprisingly intuitive. It's a Windows-based interface that lets you import a DXF file, set the operation mode, and run a preview before you fire the laser. I was able to get a decent weld on a 3mm aluminum bracket after about an hour of trial runs, which is a lot faster than the weeks I'd spent learning MIG settings on my old hobby welder. The real magic is the automatic focus system. The laser head adjusts its distance to the material on the fly, so you don't have to manually dial in a focus point for each thickness. That eliminates a common source of frustration, especially when you're moving between 2mm sheet metal and a 6mm tube. However, there are trade-offs that become clear once you move past the initial demo. The machine is designed for relatively thin sheet work. Think up to 4mm for reliable cuts and up to about 3mm for consistent welds. If you're looking to join thicker structural steel or do heavy-duty aerospace-grade assemblies, you'll quickly feel the power limits. The laser's 1200-watt rating is generous for a desktop-sized unit, but it's still a far cry from the kilowatt-class lasers you see in full-scale industrial shops. In my testing, trying to cut a 5mm stainless steel piece resulted in a ragged edge that needed a bit of hand finishing. That's not a failure, but it's a signal that the MetalFab shines brightest when you stay within its sweet spot of thin to medium gauge metals. Another practical point is the ventilation requirement. Laser welding creates fumes, especially when you're cutting or cleaning coated steel. The MetalFab comes with a built-in exhaust port, but it's not a closed-loop filtration system. You'll want to hook it up to a proper fume extractor or at least run it near a window with a fan pulling air out. I tried using it in a small garage without any supplemental ventilation, and the odor lingered for hours. Definitely not ideal for a home environment. So, if you already have a good dust extraction setup, you'll integrate the MetalFab without much hassle. If you don't, you'll need to budget a bit more for an appropriate exhaust solution. Who should buy this? If you're a maker who spends a lot of time prototyping metal parts, jewelry, custom brackets, or decorative art, the MetalFab pays for itself quickly. The ability to go from a raw sheet to a finished, welded component without leaving your bench is a real productivity boost. It also appeals to educators who want to demonstrate laser metal processing without the safety overhead of high-current welding equipment. On the flip side, if your shop revolves around heavy structural fabrication, thick plate welding, or you need a high-speed plasma cutter for large format sheets, you'll probably hit the ceiling of what this machine can deliver and be better off investing in dedicated tools. In terms of durability, xTool markets the unit as built for a lifetime of creation. The chassis is a solid aluminum frame, and the laser module is housed in a sealed enclosure that feels robust. The warranty is backed by the brand's support team, which has been responsive in the community forums. I haven't pushed the machine to its limits yet, but the components look like